It's going to ask you to click. Okay. Hey everybody, how you doing? This is interview number, who cares? Anyway, this is Comic Spot, Linda Marcus Smith, and today, guess who we have here for you to get to know in them sunglasses over there? You have Dan Mechanic. Wave at the people, please, Dan, while I do your introduction. Wave at them.
Dan Gonzo Mechanic.
Dan Gonzo Mechanic. International headliner Dan Gonzo Mechanic, doing it 37 years. Worked with everyone from Gary Shandling to Tommy Chong.
That's right.
Aspen Comedy Festival, kills it all over the Bay Area, and just saw his act in Vegas. I got to be on a show with him. The guy kills. He murders.
Thank you. I'm glad you were
Smart.
there. Three
Yeah,
guys I killed. We left them scattered all over the fucking Vegas Strip, baby.
yeah, I know.
Those shows were hot. Those shows were hot. Opening
Tell
for Jay, the ventriloquist guy. He was fantastic too.
He was. I
Uh,
love that.
what an
What?
amazing, what an amazing crew we had there in Vegas at the shows. We had a lot of famous people, right? We had the unknown comic from the Gong Show. We had
Yes.
Jay from Soap and from his Tony Awards. We had the guy who used to open for Lance Burton. Lorenzo Clark was there, who was like the youngest member of the Magic Castle. It was and my aunt Susan Abramson, who was a producer back on Ed Sullivan back in the day. So it was a real old school green room back there. Very cool event.
Your aunt is a doll. She's a
Yeah, she's
dream to talk
awesome.
to.
She's the one who got me into the business. I mean, not a nepotism baby by any stretch, but being around her and going on to like the Ed Sullivan show set when I was 3 years old, I've kind of like pinpointed that as ground zero for when I thought this might be a good way to make a living. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. You know how you say, you know what I mean? It's kind of your little catchphrase
Yeah,
on.
it is my catchphrase. Yeah,
I love it. I
yeah.
love it. It's like
I like it. I guess it's happened naturally, but people have been pointing that out to me, and they do like it. Yeah,
I love it. So talk to me about little Dan growing up. Like
yeah.
little
I
bit
grew up on
about.
Long Island. I was born here in the Bay Area, but I grew up in Long Island in Roslyn. And in Roslyn, they only make two types of people: people who make hedge funds or people who run Hollywood. It's like a Jewish ghetto, but a public school. You know what I mean? And so, like all these famous people went to my high school, and I went to the performing. I ended up going to the performing high school in Long Island, and which was great because I was the only straight guy, and I was getting lucky all the time. Anyway, so I went there, and then I grew up in Roslyn. I went to school at CU Boulder, and I dropped out of Boulder my sophomore year to get in-state tuition in Colorado, and I ran out of money. I was living in Aspen, and I heard an ad on the radio for a comedy contest at the local nightclub. It was a $200 grand prize, and I went in and I won that thing 14 weeks in a row. Said to my parents, I don't think I need college. I'm not sure. You know what I mean? Because my rent back then was like $300. So that was kind of my up. That was kind of my come up right there. That's when I realized I might be onto something.
That's so cool. So doing stand up, tell us about the trajectory of doing comedy for you. How when you started, how you were accepted, how you like how fast did you get on shows and
Well,
I
it's been a
want to I
real
want to hear.
stop. It's been a stop and start. I did that contest in Aspen, and I was about 20. And then I went back there after I graduated. I did actually go back and graduate from CU Boulder. And I did some shows in Boulder and worked once in a while. I did a lot of I used to actually do a lot of lip sync contests as Mick Jagger because I was thinner back then and hot. And made a lot of money doing that also. And then when I went back to Aspen, I joined this comedy group called Artsy. We were like the biggest thing going in town. It was a sketch comedy group. And then I just started doing stand up again. And all of a sudden, I got booked to open for Tommy Chong. And I did like, I don't know, 8 to 10 shows with Tommy Chong. And just me. I was the sole opener. And man, people saw me and my career really took off. There was no internet back then. You know what I mean? It was just like, boy, you're funny, you're in Aspen, whatever. And then I got booked for the Aspen Comedy Festival. I was introduced on stage by Dr. Hunter Thompson, who wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Unbelievable, you know. And then I opened for Gary Shandling at a sold out Wheeler Opera House. And you know, from there it just went. And so in Aspen, I had my own show. I had a weekend show there for the tourists. I do like 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, and then I had a sketch comedy show on during the week. And I was on the local radio and cable TV, and so I was kind of a star. And then I left and went to Asia and backpacked across Asia, started writing screenplays, and came back to LA, moved back to New York, and the problem was there were a lot of clubs to work in New York, but the money was not very good, and I needed
Mhm.
to make money. And so I started working party boats out of South Street Seaport, and my specialty was after proms. They'd put kids on a boat at like 2 in the morning and have like a DJ and a buffet and a comedian, and I was the comedian. And so, like all of May and June, I would work every night out of South Street Seaport, and that was very good money. And then I did stand up New York and some of the other clubs in New York and whatever. Um, and then I moved to Hollywood. And when I was in Hollywood, I really was focused a little bit more on the screenwriting and TV writing than I was on the actual stand up. But I did also work a lot of boats there out of like Balboa Island and Long Beach and um, Marina Del Rey. And they put these people on boats to go party and get drunk. And, you know, listen, I would rather go on a party boat and make $300 than work at the Comedy Store and make nothing. And that was my philosophy. It was like, I need to get paid. I need to pay my rent. And then I did work some
Yeah.
in Hollywood. I worked Bar One, a couple other places, whatever. And then I kind of stopped doing it, and I moved to Asia for some business opportunities with a friend of mine who we created some beverage brands, coconut water brands, and whatnot. And I don't really want to get into that because I don't really tie those two worlds because of the nature of my. But I went to Asia. I'm working in the beverage business, and I'm living in Taiwan. And all of a sudden, there's like this little burgeoning scene going on in Taiwan, and people were like, "We heard you used to be a comic. You want to come out?" And I went out and I did one night, and the next day I had like newspapers at my office building, magazine art. It was like crazy. I went from like a guy selling juice, you know, like to like a rock star in like one gig, you know. And then we had this cool scene going on in Taiwan where I was like one of 12 comics. We had guys from like Canada and Australia and New Zealand and South Africa. It was a real like international group of comedians, but not a lot. Like maybe we had a dozen. And Taiwan's a democracy and a very healthy economy. And they had about 50,000 expats there who were there on corporate or English teachers, people with making money. And they had a lot of what they call ABC, American born Chinese, and then a lot of Taiwanese who were interested in America. And we started doing shows at all these clubs. And, you know, it took off. And then this guy opened a club. His name is Social. He's like the godfather of Asian comedy and comedy clubs. And he opened this club in Taipei. And I was the first guy headlining there. And I just started doing shows and making money. And it was awesome. It was great. Taiwanese audiences are fantastic. No censorship. I
Wow.
had a very unique angle because I was like an expat. And at the time, I was also traveling to Indonesia and Thailand and Cambodia and Laos, Korea, Japan. I went all over the region for my core business, and I would have these crazy experiences and come back to Asia and put it into a show. So if I went to India for business, I'd come back and do a show about my thing in India, and it really caught fire. People really liked it. I had a great fan base. A lot of my fans were from Germany and Austria, which you don't really think about. You know what I mean? Because they're not really. I'm like the Jew there. They're like, I guess these guys from Germany think the Jew is funny. I'm not. You know what I mean? So I have all these engineering guys, and I had a really a great run there. I got a lot of good publicity, and it was really cool. And when I headline, I still do a bit where I talk about my tour through Asia. That usually on my longer sets, I still have a chunk of material about that tour and that time. And then I came back to the States And frankly, my business was booming. My drink business was booming. And so I stopped doing comedy. I mean, I came back, I want to say I came back and I did maybe a year here in the Bay. I did like the Purple Onion and Castagnolas and all the main. I founded comedy at the Craneway, but it wasn't like being a rock star. It was like coming back and starting again. I went from like being on the marquee, getting money, girls, the whole package to like, hey, you're number 8. You know what I mean? Uh, but I was excited to work the Purple Onion because my hero Lenny Bruce had worked there, so that was a kind of a big deal for me. So anyway, I did the Bay scene for a while, and then my business started taking off at the same time when cancel culture and all that was going on, and when they started to weaponize comedians' acts against them. You remember Al Franken or what was it, Louis C.K., right? They used his act against him, and all of a sudden these guys were getting canceled one after the other. This is about 217, and I went, I'm out. You know what I mean? You've seen my act. Yeah, it's like 90% drugs and hookers and misadventure, and there's nothing like I'm not going to be on the Disney Channel. You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck it, I'm out of this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this Denny comedy here. This is like tap dancing on a landmine. You know what I mean? So I do that. I stopped, and then COVID hit, right? And that's when I lost everything. I lost my business. I lost my girlfriend. I lost my car. And let me tell you something, when you have nothing, that's the best time to do comedy. And so COVID ended, and I kind of like, I think naively thought maybe I can get another corporate kind of like high paying job in the Bay Area. And I sent out my resume, and they sent a note back saying, you're a 58-year-old straight white guy. See ya. You're not checking any boxes. You're not checking the box there. So literally, just like when I started in Aspen when I was a kid for the comedy contest, I got back into it for the money, and then I found the love again. And
Yeah.
so I went to a local club up the street here, Baltic Kiss. It's our local nightclub in Richmond, in Point Richmond. And I brought them literally magazines, a stack of magazines from when I was famous. And I go, guys, I don't have any YouTubes. I don't have any. I just have. I used to be, like in the '90s. You know what I mean? So I had a stack of newspapers, and they went, you know what? We'll give you a night. You could go do your night. And so this was on October 26th last year, and I went out, and I feel like I can't even talk about it because I get a little spill because people went fucking crazy. They went nuts. Like, I swear to God, the club was packed, and like people were chanting, and I came off stage like I was on fire. And then I was like, fuck it, that's God has told me. It's all I have left to do between now and when I go on the ground. And then I went full. And then I went full speed. Then I went full speed. And what happened was I started booking local gigs. I don't even have a car. I have an e-bike. Okay, very expensive condo and an e-bike. So I'm only hitting the local places. And all of a sudden, I have this gig booked for my birthday, and uh, and the club calls me on Thanksgiving Day and goes, my birthday's January 5th. Thanksgiving Day, they call me and they go, we're remodeling the club. We got to bump your gig. And so I'm going like, okay, this is like my birthday weekend. I have all these people coming out. I have nowhere to play, no booker, nothing. I call my friend at the yacht club, my friend V, who I love. Thank you, V. And I'm like, can I come tell jokes at your yacht club? And I go sailing with these guys, so I know the culture a little bit. She said, sure. I mean, the Commodore had seen my club act. He goes, come do the yacht club. So I had like about a month to prepare. And I was like, what? I'm going to make a bunch of sailing jokes. And so I came up with a set of sailing material jokes. And I killed. People have never really had jokes specifically to their lifestyle. And here's what I like about working yacht clubs. One, it's older people. It's people between 50 and 82. It's drunk people. They're all alcoholics. And three, they're wealthy. You know what I mean? So that's number three. Very important if you're working for tips. You know what I mean? You younger comics, take note. Old people have money. And so I came up with this thing where I would just go, listen, I'll do the show for free. And then if people have a good time, they can tip me. And so I did the show, and it went over great. People were going nuts, the whole 9 yards. I hired Tony Sparks, who's very famous. He's the godfather of Bay Area comedy. He was my MC. He brought like a duck backstage. I don't know what's going on with his duck in the driving. and I had another girl as a feature. So I always try to have like an MC, a female feature, and then I came on. And I got to be honest, the tips were really good. And then I learned about this thing called Venmo. Now, and all of a sudden I was like, wow, that's a nice little niche. These are my people. You know what I mean? You do the 6 o'clock show, you're like, hey, welcome to the late show. Anyway, so I booked a bunch of yacht clubs. I worked Ensenada Yacht Club, Oakland Yacht Club, Richmond Yacht Club, Point San Pablo Yacht Club. I work all these yacht clubs, and I have this bit about the sailing. And then I went, how about wineries? And so I started working a local winery called the Riggers Loft Winery. And the people were the nicest people in the world. They own it. It's close to my house. They're artists themselves. They get it. They know how to treat talent. And so I did like 5 shows there. And so
Did you do winery jokes?
I did. I do specific jokes. Of, yeah, yeah. Wherever I'm working, as you saw in my Vegas show, I do Vegas jokes. If I'm working at a sailing place, I'm doing sailing jokes. You always get gonzo. You know what I mean? There's always like a baseline of insanity that's about to happen. Like you've been invited to a party that, you know what I mean? Like, wow, what do I get about this guy? How is he not dead yet? That's a fucking, you know what I mean? You always get that vibe, but I always tailor it because I'm a writer. I like to do so I love going into Vegas and just busting on the Sphere for losing money. That's like, how'd they do that? No one figured that out. You know what I mean? In the process, they're building the Sphere. They never went, let me just do a little calculation to see if this thing will make money. I don't know. Now there's a movie there for $50. Who's smoking enough crack to go in for that? You know what I mean? Planet Earth. No, you need to put the Who in there. Let's go. Come on. Put up the Hendrix Experience. All right, that's what else can I tell you?
So what are your goals in life? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? And what do you want to accomplish before you get old and die like me?
Oh, well, I'll have to be honest that I am single. I know, ladies, hard to believe. No kids. I'm single. This is what I'm doing. This is my legacy. And so, I'm looking for some really, listen, I'm already getting my name in lights. I'm getting paid, so I could stop there. I just put out a new special on YouTube called Dan Gonzo Mechanic Still Tripping, which I'm really proud of. We shot it in Marin. I shot it on my cell phone. I mean, but it's so funny that it's like undeniable. So if I died tomorrow, they could just watch that. You know what I mean? But I want some good management, and I want to get on to Comedy Central, HBO, everywhere where I belong. I want to work Jimmy Kimmel's Club in Las Vegas. They've already reached out to me. I'm talking to them. I want to be, I want to make people laugh. It's not really about money at this point. I got my money. You know what I mean? I want to make people laugh and do the shows. You come off stage, get that adrenaline rush. And my Achilles heel, if I have to be honest, is I hate doing all the TikTok and the Instagram followers I'm really less about being like famous and more about being funny. You know what I mean? I don't need
Exactly.
people going into my personal life and all that being like recognized. And it's, you know what I mean? It's a double-edged sword now because you become famous, people come after you. And my act leaves a lot of room for, you know what I mean? But I do want to get paid correctly and work all over the world like I've been doing and can bring in the laughs. I love working in Vegas. I love working with you and meeting people. I love working with the other comics. I'm doing a show December 7th where I'm headlining with 14 comics from the Bay Area who are going up to Chico. And
Wow.
these are all like the young guns in the scene. These are all the 20 and 30-year-olds. And it really makes me like, feel like I'm one of the cool kids. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, you're going to be their hero.
after 50, unless I'm doing the gig, I'm hanging out at home doing bongers with my dog watching Netflix. You know what I mean? You don't really like, it's not like I'm going to the disco and shaking my booty. So, the comedy at least gets me out of the house. And it also lets my friends know where I'll be. I have a lot of friends everywhere I go. Very popular guy. I don't mean that in any kind of an arrogant way. Just I'm very blessed that I have a huge group of friends. And so, if I go work in New York, my friends know that that's where I'll be in New York. And then they know after the show, there will be a party or at least an opportunity for a party. So, in Vegas, as you know, we had that beautiful wine bar after the show. And I met people on Facebook and they came to the show. We had a good time. People take pictures with the comedians. I believe that's part of it because after the show, you're all juiced up and whatever. Um, uh,
Yeah.
Here in the Bay Area, sometimes I just have parties at my condo afterwards.
Wow, how
I
cool is
I
that?
feel like I've invited the audience all back to my house. It's not like a raging nightlife here like it is in Vegas. You know what I mean? This is a daytime culture here in the Bay Area. People go sailing and skiing, but after my show, sometimes I'll party at my condo, or if we're in New York, we can all go out because then I'm in my best mood.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still I'm still going. You know what I mean?
So, do you have upcoming shows that you want to tell us
Yeah,
about?
I have just what I have booked right now is December 6th. I'm going to be headlining at the Washington Inn in Oakland, California.
Wow.
That's a great show produced by Samson, who's like one of the top promoters here, producers in the Bay Area. He does it great. That show's been going for 15 years.
Wow.
In the room. Yeah, I get to take my hat off to Samson on that. And then the next day, December 7th, I'm driving to Chico with the 14 comedians, and we're working a daytime 3 to 4:20 show there at a place called the Idea Lab in Chico on December 7th. And then after that, I got to go see my mom down in Orange County. So all you guys in Hollywood, you know what I mean? You know, Laugh Factory, Comedy Store, Ice House. He needs 10. I'm coming down.
Where in Orange County is your mom? All
In
my
Laguna,
family lives there.
Laguna Woods. They called it. It used to be called Leisure World. Now we call it Seizure World. You know what I mean? I go. They actually have comedians who go there. I saw this guy was checking out his bio. His main credit was Jackie Gleason. Okay, it was yeah. A little out
Oh,
of
I'm
date.
gonna
The guy was like,
tag.
hold on. The guy was like, hold on while I play the Jew harp. He really said that. It was wow, old
Do you
school.
have any bookings in Laguna area? Because my sister lives in Laguna Niguel. All my family, all my
No,
friends.
that's what I need for anyone who's watching this. I have my website, gonzocomedynation.com. I'm open to bookings. It's one of the reasons I really want a manager to handle this kind of stuff for me. Mostly people call me and they book me, and I go, okay, I'll be here, I'll be there. If I have the time, I can produce a show once in a while. But it's always good to have the incoming, you know.
Yeah, you're such a beast on stage. You know,
Thanks. I appreciate.
they got to book you.
I was born to do this.
Yes, absolutely. And
Yeah.
you really, you knock it out of the park and you don't reserve anything. You just go, you knock it out of the park. And I just love that because, you know,
I feel
uh
like people have like, especially when I'm working Vegas, people have a lot of entertainment options. And also, listen, it's hard to go out of the house, in general. People
yeah.
could, besides going out to something in Vegas, they can sit home and watch Netflix and save money and do all those things. And especially in a show like Vegas where people are buying tickets and they're buying expensive food. I mean, I give it 100% all the time, but a show like that, you really want to drill down. And one of the things I love about that room is Lorenzo Clark. We've been friends for almost 30 years, and he's the guy who hosts the room and books it. And he's an encyclopedic knowledge of the entertainment business, and all he knows every comedian who's ever worked a cruise ship. He, was in Hollywood for many years. He was the youngest guy at the Magic Castle, and so we did a lot of rolling around together in the '90s. And he's one of the few people after a show we go out and have dinner and he can actually give me some, hey, why don't try this or try that or add something to a joke. And he's one of the few people I can take those kind of notes from.
Nice.
Now
He's so even keel. I got invited on a show that was for cougars, and so we were
oh
supposed to
yeah, the
talk.
Cougalicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not a cougar. So I did a whole 10 minutes of new jokes about how I'm not a cougar and you guys should be so glad I'm not. And
That
and
room was cougar filled.
yeah, they didn't need my help. And so out of that, Lorenzo decided to give me 3 guest spots. And then it's just kind of grown from there because I guess he likes what I do on stage. I'm not yet a killer, but I do the best that I can at the
Got
level.
some good jokes in there. I like the headshot joke.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you.
you know what? You got to keep working material, and some stuff doesn't work. So, like on my special that I just released, the Still Tripping, there's stuff I'll never do again on there. It was just specific to that environment and
Mhm.
that time and that place. So I'm doing a lot of jokes and people who watch it about rich deadheads because I'm in Marin, California. That's where they're all from. I'm talking about psychedelic drugs and mushrooms because that's what they're doing. They're rich deadheads who are doing psychedelic drugs. And so, but when I went through all my tapes, you realize how much of it's the audience. Their reaction is what gets the energy from you, because a lot of the funny stuff is the asides where the audience. Now, I'm not an audience interaction guy, but if someone's drunk and saying stuff, I'm going to reply. And those are some of the funniest moments. And at that particular show, I had two guys who were tripping in the front row. They were on shrooms. And so they really added a lot to the show because they were laughing. They were falling out of their seats, you know. And
I like it when somebody knows how to work with the audience, because that's where the you can get some new tags, new jokes, new stories to tell. And why do we shut down? I mean, if they're being mean and trying to disrupt, and but for the most part they're not. I would say that most of the people that blurt anything out are not trying to derail the comic.
I think that it's a good point. It's a good question. I mean, I think that I do like some audience. I like people screaming and yelling stuff. I don't want them to be like drunk idiots or be like negative. I have had to deal with very rarely, actually. I mean, I like can't count it on my hands the times I've had to really deal with somebody. But generally, if it's just good natured yelling and screaming, that can add some fun. And also, I mean, it depends on how you're taping the show. So if you're taping your show, let's say through a soundboard like you did in Vegas, you lose a lot of the audience, right? Because you're just doing your mic. But if you do a show like this one I taped, I did it on my phone. And so it's in the audience. If you don't have an idiot talking next to it, it's good. And you really get the authentic laughter and those shout outs, and they're funny. If
Absolutely.
people are with you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I've seen comics. I don't know how you feel about this. Like somebody will tell a joke and they go, don't laugh at that, you know? And I'm like, why would you tell the audience? Why would you shut down the audience by,
Uh,
you
I
know?
always say it's a comedy show. You know,
Yeah.
I actually the worst is when they're holding back the laugh, like they're kind of gritting their teeth and like tensed up, like I'm not going to give it to this guy, you know. And you're like, you're here to have fun, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
let it
Why
out.
why do
Laugh it's
people
healthy.
do that?
I don't know. I'm not the audience, man. I'm like, listen, when I see other comics, I'm like Ed McMahon. You can hear me in the back of the room. I used to, I when Jay was going, why? Because that adds the fun to the room. I'm not yelling stuff, but I'm laughing loudly if they're at all funny,
Yes.
you know, because I get it. That's what you're feeding off of. The more fun I'm having, the more fun you're having, and back and forth, right?
Absolutely.
And the
Absolutely.
I guess the other thing I do like about that room, and you know, it's very important, as you know, the tech is very tight. The speakers are good and the mic is good, and the you know when you work at places outside of traditional comedy clubs and you're doing yacht clubs and wineries and corporate and different bar shows, you get stuck with a bad mic, it can really ruin the show.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you think about like the Beatles came to America, they played Shea Stadium, and their music was being played through these tin speakers, that didn't sound good, and you couldn't hear it. People were screaming, and then the Grateful Dead came along, and they went, "Let's build a wall of sound." You know what I mean? Let's
Yeah.
put like 800 fucking speakers. That's what I'm about. I like it loud and clear. I don't want any confusion about who's on stage. You know what I mean? I don't want you to have to lean in to understand what I'm saying. I want it to be crisp. And that's another thing I like about that room at the Ahern is it is crisp.
I like that room. It's
Yeah,
intimate, but it's professional. I like the ambiance.
yeah.
It's like new but old.
It's a unique for you guys watching. It's the Ahern Hotel and Convention Center in Las Vegas. No resort fees, free parking. Shows every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Plenty of hookers. No, I'm kidding.
That's more over at the Strat, I think. I met this girl. We were walking back, and we were holding hands, and I showed her actually my picture on the marquee and stuff, and I was like, what do you think? And she was like, no discount. I didn't even know she was a hooker. I just thought 22-year-old girls still like hanging out with me. I thought maybe it was a jacket. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, some of the hookers are undercover.
Yes. Yeah. And then
Careful.
you want to get them undercover.
Be careful.
this guy asked me if I was a hooker.
What'd you say?
I said, hey, well, I know how to make rugs and crochet. What are you talking?
There you go.
I can be. How
Got
much
a
you
girl. Got a girl.
Get it? No, I'm kidding. Well, anyway, it's been a blast, and I will get
All right.
this out and get back to you. And what do you want to say in closing? Where do you want people to follow you again?
You know what? You can follow all my shows at the gonzocomedynation.com. Isn't that easy to remember?
Yes, that's very easy.
GonzoComedyNation.com. That's it. There's nothing weird. Just GonzoComedyNation.com. That has links to all my, not all, but most of my videos, my YouTube channel, my TikTok, which I think I'm paying someone to do. I don't know. My Facebook, my Instagram. There are no bikini shots, so don't be nervous. No nude shots of me. You won't click it and all of a sudden be like, whoa, everything I'm fully clothed. And all my materials, mostly adult material for people who are booking managers, whatever. I can work clean if I have to, if the money's right. But you guys come and see me, it's an R-rated. I would say it's an R-rated affair. I don't think I'm going to be on dry bar comedy anytime soon. But I hope when people come to see me that not only do they laugh, but they feel like they've been on a kind of a crazy trip and that they've been to like a wild party. I want them to feel like it's been a high energy kind of party experience for them because I think that's what I'm bringing to the stage.
It is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tag every booker, club owner, agent I know on this.
Okay, gonzocomedynation.com.
You got it.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye. Dan Gonzo Mechanic.